All right, welcome everyone. Thank you guys all for joining us. Tonight we have John Tantillo, who is a diamond coach on our team, Team Engaged. He's been a coach for how many years, John? Three, four?
Three plus, almost four.
Almost 4 years. And I know that John has tremendous success, probably better success than any other coach on the team, using a website and a blog and his private challenge groups. And that's what he's going to talk about tonight. So, just keep in mind that this may not be for you. It may not be for everyone. It is a little more technical, but it is an avenue, and it's definitely something we want to share for people who are interested or who may have experience with blogging or looking for some new methodologies. So let me mute up a few of you guys, and John, you can take it away.
Okay, so Greg, before we start, just for the recording, are you still on your gallery view? Can we see everyone? I want to do a small poll.
Yes.
So how many people here actually have a website or a blog right now? Just kind of raise your hand if you have one. I'm just kind of curious. Wow, so really nobody. Corey. So a couple. Greg.
Yep. Shanna has one. Yep.
Okay, all right. Well, that helps. So that gives me an idea just who knows what and how basic this should be. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. I got a couple slides. Let's see if I can get this up. All right, so you can see, you see my cover slide here?
Yes. Okay,
how to earn Success Club with the blog and private group. So that's what I'm going to talk about. This pretty much is my process, and I've been doing this for about 2 years now. So the big picture, what is this all about? At a really 30,000 foot level, when you have a website or a blog, you can create content that people can search for and find on Google or other search engines or other search mechanisms. And if they find your stuff and come to your website, you can offer them something free in exchange for their contact information, okay? So some people call it freemiums. Some people call it your irresistible offer, but the idea is to give something of value away in exchange for an email address. After that, you start growing a contact list from people, from this cold market. You take it to forming, you start one-on-one conversations. My process then is to get these people into a free group, and then I run a free challenge group, much like many of you probably run your free groups. But mine is a little unique, and I'll talk about what that means. And then from the free group, you convert people to customers, and ultimately you convert some to coaches. So that's really the big process that I'm going to talk about tonight, and I'm probably going to spend most of the time on the front end of this because that's really what is unique. So I added this slide right before I came on. Greg thought it'd be a good idea if I put a slide up on, well, how do I even get a website? So from my experience, there's really 3 different places you can go to get a website, or 3 different ways you can start your own website. And I strongly encourage you, if you think you're in this for the long haul, to get one going. If you look at the top volume producers on the Engage page and the top Success Club point earners, I think 90% of us have a website that we use in one form or another. So all of the top coaches have websites, and I'm going to show you some searches where you're going to see some of the top coaches. So this is something you really want to do if you're going to be in it for the long run. So 3 ways. You can do it yourself. This is what I do with my website, and this is my website here, johntfitness.com. You can go look at it later. The way I set this up, and I just copied what other coaches did at the time I was a new coach back in 2013. I bought a domain from GoDaddy. I buy hosting from a company called HostGator. You download some software to your own computer from this place called WordPress.org. And it's the gold standard because that's kind of the place that all these commercial websites, all these commercial companies use for their own websites. So if you use that, you're going to be up there in the big leagues. You're going to get a lot of good tools. for me, it costs me about $10 to $15 a month to maintain this, and that doesn't include my automatic email system that I pay extra for. Another option for Beachbody coaches, and this is really cool if you want to get up and running quickly, is you could use a turnkey hosting site. And I'm familiar with 2 of these turnkey hosting sites that cater to Beachbody coaches. There's an outfit called Practical Social Media. They host websites and they actually give you initial content, and they cater to Beachbody coaches. A lot of their stuff was started by a Beachbody coach. I know some of the Engage coaches are using their tools, and here's a link to get started with them. There's also another outfit called Who Knows a Guy Fitness. They host and they provide content for Beachbody coaches. And if any of you have ever connected with the Elite Stronghold group, they do some training called Accelerated Diamond. And in that training, they give you one of these websites free for 30 days. This is a little bit more expensive. It runs you 30 to 40 bucks a month. A lot of times they have introductory offers, but this is good because they kind of hold your hand. They have a ton of training. I've actually used both of these, PSNU and Who Knows a Guy Fitness. I used them for about 3 to 4 months each when I was trying to develop a second website, and I ended up I canceled because I fell back to my original website. Your last option, there are free blogging sites out there, WordPress.com, Blogger, Weebly, blog.com. I have no experience with these. All I know is that there's some limited functionality and content ownership issues. So if you go this route, make sure you read their terms and conditions, because I'm not really sure if everything I'm going to show you tonight that I do is applicable to those websites. Okay. So now, going back to that flow chart, the first thing that you have to do when you get one of these websites, if you want to be found on the search engines, you got to start off creating good content. And what's good content? You want to do things like answer some common questions that people have and that people are actually searching for. You want to answer problems that people encounter and make sure the things that people are actually searching for, and I'll show you what I mean by that. And you want to provide something of value. So here in bold, it's kind of important. Rather than sit down and write something that you like and you think and hope people are going to find, you want to think backwards. And you want to go find out what are people looking for, and then you want to write about that. That's how you get found in search engines. And here are a couple tools that are really, really useful. The Google search bar, and here's a picture of it over here on the right. When you start typing something in, it auto-suggests things that correlate to what other people in the world are searching for. So if you just type in 21 day or 21 day fix, you're going to see this thing called 21 day fix recipes pop up. And if you click on that, you're going to find a ton of Beachbody coaches that have all sorts of recipe things that they're giving away for free. And that's a great idea because it's something people are searching for. This picture here also comes from Google. Google also gives you suggestions on what else people are asking for. I typed in PIO, and people are asking, what kind of exercise is PIO? How long are workouts in PIO? How much will PIO be? So these are phrases and keywords that you want to tuck away, and you're going to use those when I get to the next step. There's another website here called answerthepublic.com. This is a third-party tool where you can enter some keywords, and it's going to go to Google, and it's going to find out what questions people are asking in Google. And this is another fantastic way to kind of get your head around, what should I write about? How should I title my blog? What kind of words should I put in my blog so Google can find me? And if we have time at the end, I'll go back. I'll actually show you this tool. It's pretty interesting. I typed in P90X3, and these are some of the questions that people are asking that you can, turn into a blog post and turn into some kind of free giveaway. Okay. So now back to the big picture. I talked about creating blog content. Now I'm going to talk about how do you actually get found in Google, because you can write stuff all day long, and if people aren't finding you, it really doesn't do you any good. So before I start this, I am not an expert on what's called search engine optimization. SEO is called search engine optimization. If you want to learn about it, I suggest you go to Google and Google SEO, and you'll get a whole lot of free articles that tell you what it's all about. There are people out there that will charge you money to improve your Google rankings. I don't do that. I've never done that. And what I've read is you can do that and it lasts for like a month and then you dissipate. So I'm not sure it's worth it. But what I've learned is that there's some core principles of search engine optimization and writing stuff that Google will index and help people find on your site. One, you want to use keywords that people are actually searching for. And that's what I just showed you on the last slide. You want to use keywords that people are searching. And it's important to put those words in your post title and put them in your first paragraph. Because when Google goes and crawls the web and looks at your website, it's looking at your first paragraph and it's looking at your titles and looking at your headings. So you want to make sure your keywords are in those positions. You have to continue to add new content to your website. You can't just put one thing out there and hope that you can ride that horse forever. Because what I've learned is Google is always indexing your site. And if your site goes stale, you're going to go down in the rankings. Google has a ranking algorithm, just like Facebook has an algorithm. And you always want to be on top of their algorithm. And one way to do that is to always put out new content. You want to cross-link content within your site. And by cross-linking, that means on one blog post, you want a link that brings someone to some other blog post or another page. When Google sees that people are staying on your site and they're spending time on your site and they're going page to page on your site, that helps your rankings. That tells Google, hey, this is important. People like this because they're not just going to the site and bouncing off the site. So it's kind of good if you can get people to bounce around within your site. And the last word here is be very patient. It takes months for Google rankings to grow. I'm going to show you a chart where I started putting content up and it took 6 months before I got any real traction. It really is the compound effect at work. Content is king. No need to pay for optimization. Just write good content. There's a tool here that when you get your own website, if you have a customizable website, there's a plugin called Yoast SEO plugin for WordPress. I use it. It helps you pick good keywords and it helps remind you how to write good posts so that you get good rankings. It's a tool that I started using a couple months ago and it's really, really valuable. One more tip. Google likes to know that people are coming to your site. So drive external traffic to your website, whether it's from your Facebook page or Pinterest or advertisements. Don't just put a post out in Facebook and say, comment or message me. If somehow you can make people click on a link that takes them to your blog and then you collect information that way, that adds value to your Google rankings. So that's just kind of a little tip. Okay, so now that you have some content and people are finding your content on Google, you know, maybe you have 21. Nope, okay. So maybe you have you're really good at 21-day fix recipes and you want people, you want to come up with this free thing to give away. So something like a 21-day fix recipe book. And here's a picture down in my lower right-hand corner. I just found today from another coach who has this free download, a 21-day recipe book. Oh my God, it's been downloaded 9,500 times. I'm going to show you that at the end when we have time. But come up with something. My something, and I just stumbled across this, my something is Beachbody hybrid workout schedules. So 2.5 years ago, I started doing hybrid schedules because I wanted a hybrid between P90X3 and T25, and I thought it'd be great to share it with the world. So I put it together, I shared it on my website, and 6 months later, I found out it had been downloaded like 500 times. It's like, oh my God, I got to do something about this. So develop something that people really want or need. You know, workout schedules, meal plans, recipe book. And, you know, it doesn't have to be fitness related, right? For me, it's Beachbody fitness workout program. So I attract Beachbody customers. But for you, it could be something else in your niche. You know, maybe your niche is Disney moms, and you can put out like a tip sheet on how to navigate Disney with 6-year-old kids. That might be something that people will give you an email address for in exchange. So don't limit yourself to just Beachbody stuff. Kind of think outside the box. Check Google and other websites and see if what you are offering is popular see if that's something that other people are offering. And if it is, then there's a good bet that people are searching for it and it's going to be popular. And then what you have to do is make yours a little different. Keep it small. It doesn't have to be a huge book. It can be a one-page schedule. It can be a two-page recipe meal plan. Just keep it small. And then the trick here is once you have a website, there's a process where you can set up a form where you collect contact information. And you want to collect their name and email address and maybe some other questions if you want to go that deep. And you do that in exchange for a download. And you've probably seen other websites how they do that. They say, click here and I'll send you my free report. That's the process that I use. And that's the process that you have to learn how to use. There are a lot of tools that you can use to make that happen. WordPress forms, Google Forms, Wufoo, MailChimp, or an equivalent email service provider. It was exactly a year ago I did training on how I use MailChimp. It was October 10th, 2015. So if you go back to the Engage Recorded Calls, you'll see my training on how I use MailChimp, and it kind of goes hand in hand with this whole slide. There it is. That's the link to my recorded call. Okay, so let me back up and show you where we are. So I talked about creating blog content that's valuable, how to increase your searchability in Google, and I just talked about how to create a free download in exchange for an email address. Are there any questions at this point? Because what I'm going to move into now is, well, what do I do now that I get these emails flowing in? So if there's any questions on any of that, unmute yourself and let me know. Otherwise, I'm just going to keep rolling on. Okay. Oh, this is my free download. As I mentioned, my freemium is hybrid schedules. Here's a timeline to kind of show you how long it took me to get this off the ground. I became a coach in January 2013. Is there a question? Somebody's unmuted. Nope. Okay. Hi. Can you unmute or mute that person, Greg? Thanks. 3 months after I became a coach, I started my website. 9 months, I had my first hybrid out there, but it was 17 months after I started being a coach that I actually collected emails. So I had this content out for 8 months before I started collecting emails. And then over the next 16 months, I had 1,900 people ping my site and download my content. And out of that, I got 1,600 useful names on my contact list. That was as of a year ago. And a year later, I now have 11 things out there that people are downloading. It's been downloaded 4,200 times, and I've collected 2,700 useful email addresses. I say useful because over the years, some people unsubscribe, they take themselves off the list. I purge people because they're inactive. Right now, my current list is about 1,700 people. So this truly is the compound effect in action. You really have to get started now if you want this thing to turn into bread and butter over the next couple of years. But just a quick note on privacy. I shared this last year. If you get into this process and you start collecting people's personal information, all of these mail service providers require that you have a privacy policy somewhere close by that says, oh, by the way, I'm collecting your info and I'm going to send you emails, and here's how I'm going to use your info. It's just it's a legal thing that you have to do if you start doing this. Okay, so now let's get into what I do. And we have one person on the call tonight, Crystal Ambrose, who actually came through this process. I'm not going to call on you, Crystal, but if you have anything you want to add as far as how this process worked and how you got from point A to being a coach, feel free to unmute yourself. So now, I've got email addresses, now what? And for me, once this thing kicked into overdrive, I get about 5 to 10 email addresses a day. So here's what I do. And actually, it's not so much here's what I do, but here's what my wife and I do. Susan, who's also on the call, she does some of this for me. So the first thing I do with an email address is I always screen for their customer status. Use the enrollment app that we all have, the mobile enrollment app. And first, see if they're already an existing customer and or if they're an existing coach. If they're a coach, just kind of be polite, say, thanks, goodbye, take them off your list because, you can't go any farther with them. People who are already Team Beachbody customers, I don't disqualify them, but I make a note of that. So when I have my one-on-one conversations, I know how I want to proceed. So the important thing is to start forming these people. So follow up with one-on-one emails with every single person that downloads from your site. My first email is a one-liner that just says, hey, did you receive the download okay? I don't get into two paragraphs of, hey, tell me your fitness goals. What are your measurements? How much do you weigh? No way. Don't do that the first time you're sending an email to somebody. So first thing I do is ask if they received it. And I've gotten responses from people. They say, wow, that's the first time I ever downloaded anything. And somebody asked me if it worked and if I got it okay. So I know that that's been a good path. That's been my number one email since I started this whole thing. After they respond, and I get responses from about 25% of the people who give me their email address. So not everyone responds. I get about 25% of the people I can work with. I just start asking questions. Hey, have you done these programs? Hey, how's your nutrition? And I just let the conversation develop. I treat it like a one-on-one conversation. And that's really for me. My long-term goal is to grow my list. Okay? I want these people to stay on my email list because I do a lot of email marketing. And people on this list are analogous to likes on your Facebook like page. They're bona fide, qualified people that have come to you because they like something you're doing. So long-term, what I do is I push out value-adding content every once in a while. I send them newsletters. I tell them about the Beachbody sales. I do things like that. And I also give them calls to action. I'm not afraid to send them a sale link. So I do the old jab, 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 right hook with my email marketing list, just like you would on a Facebook timeline. But what I want to talk about next is what I do with them near term. So my near-term goal is to get them in a free group so they can start talking to each other. And that's what I want to talk about next. So since my download, my freemium are hybrid schedules, I have a private group on Facebook, John T's hybrid group. And it's been open for over 2 years. So my advice, if you go this route, make this group an exclusive invitation-only group and make sure it's related to your free download. And the reason that's important is because these people already have an instant connection to you through that download, and they already have an instant connection to everyone else in the group. So if you take people who download recipes and you put them in a Body Beast group, it just isn't going to work. So somehow you want to link your group strategy with the download so that people get in the group and they already have something to talk about and you already have something to share. You won't be able to do this right away because you need a pool of people from which to draw enough for a group. So I waited until I had a working list of about 150 names. And then I said, oh my God, what should I do with these 150 names? And Greg, Mark Hildebrand, other guys, I don't know if you remember at Summit 2 years ago in Las Vegas, I had just started this process and I was running around like, hey, I'm getting 5 names a day. What am I supposed to do with these people? And I was trying to figure out, oh my God, what should I do? And after I had about 150 names, I said, well, I'm just going to start a private group. And out of the 150, I got about 10 people to join that first group. And that first group, it's just grown ever since. I think I even have some people from the initial group still there. Once you get this group off the ground, and you have, yeah, go ahead.
Can I make a suggestion for folks that if you wanted to do things like recipes, like you were suggesting, right? You can invite people to like a clean eating group. That would be a perfect thing to, and that's what I do. I do something similar to what John does. And I just invite people to my monthly clean eating groups, and I send out, emails to my list. So so that works really well too.
Yeah, that's a great idea. You know, that's a great feeder for your clean eating groups. Anyone who's downloaded a nutritional freemium from your website because they came to you because they were interested in the nutrition piece or the recipes. Yeah,
right. Or workout or exercise or whatever you have that's a freemium. You know, clean eating would go along perfect with that. So
yeah, yeah. In fact, when I run my clean eating groups, I usually advertise it to this list of hybrid downloaders, and I'll always get a dozen people that want to do it. So it kind of feeds my clean eating group too. So for me, this is now a permanent place where I invite people. So I'm constantly inviting people into this group. I get onesie, twosies. I can invite them. I don't have to worry about starting a new group every month. I've rolled this group over for like 2 years now. And it's alive and well. It's very active. People like it. It's very satisfying because I see people in this group are friending each other, and they now are friends. So I kind of know that they're long-term, and they're going to stick with me in the group for a long time. This group, if you do it right, essentially becomes an extension of your timeline or your like page because you have a captive audience. You know, I can post something in this group, and everyone in the group is going to see it because they're all my friends. It doesn't always happen that way on your timeline or in your like page. So I have a captive audience, to share stuff with. Here's one more tip. Whatever group you're running, when you get testimonials, like somebody lost 5 pounds or they shared their before and afters, take those testimonials and feature them back on your website on the page where you're trying to get people to give you their email information, because that adds a little bit more recognition on that page when the person's making a decision. Hey, do I give this person my email address? They'll see a testimonial that says, hey, this person lost 5 pounds in my clean eating group. And you're more likely to get a conversion. You're more likely to get more downloads if you put testimonials there. That's something I read and learned. Okay, so now, yeah.
I got a question.
Okay.
For your free download, are these people already have the program when they download your calendar, hybrid calendar?
Yeah, so that's one of the good things about my process. The only people that are downloading a hybrid schedule are generally people that have 2 or more programs. So okay. Not always. Sometimes it's somebody who has 1 program and they're out there just searching the web and they see this hybrid and say, oh, that's interesting. Maybe I'll buy T25 now. But for the most part, everyone I get has at least 2 programs that have done 2 programs. So I am not dealing with a market of people who are new to Beachbody, and that really, really helps me.
Okay.
I don't have to introduce them to Team Beachbody. No, I don't have to introduce them to Beachbody. I do have to introduce them to Team Beachbody because, frankly, most of these people buy their programs from Beachbody.com, and they have no idea what Team Beachbody is. And in my forming process, that's one of the value-adding things I provide early on is I educate them on, hey, you should be buying from Team Beachbody because then you get this disc and you get a T-shirt and you get coaching and people shipping. So anyway, I got sidetracked there. To answer your question, most of my contacts are coming in, they already own programs, right?
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
So now how do I convert these people to customers, even though they already have programs like I just said? First thing I do is I screen everyone when I'm forming them before I invite them to the group. I don't just blindly invite everyone into the group. So I try not to let any coaches sneak in. Occasionally a coach will come in because their coach account's under a different email address and I'll find out later. Doesn't happen often. I also don't invite people who are already customers who already have coaches that they know and they're familiar with, they're happy with. I don't even go there. So if somebody already has a coach that they know, I take them off my list. I don't even want to talk to them. However, a lot of people have coaches that and they don't even realize they have a coach. I tell them, oh, by the way, your name is in our coach system. So you've been randomly assigned to a coach. No, I didn't know that. And then I start the dialogue on having them switch to me. A lot of people don't even have any accounts because they bought their programs on Amazon or some other third party. And I'll get them to sign up for a free account. My objective is to get everyone in this group to be one of my customers. And for me, it's usually best to ask people to sign up or switch to you later after they're already in the group. So rather than ask them up front, kind of like extortion, oh, well, if you switch to me, I'll add you to my group. I say, well, let me add you to the group. And then a couple days later, when they see what it's all about, I say, hey, would you mind signing up or switching? And it usually goes much better that way. As I said, my group has been in place for over 2 years. I'm always adding people to it. I remove people that are inactive, that don't respond to my messages. So I don't let this group grow to more than 100 people. I found that for me, the optimum size is 40 to 70. If it's lower than 40, you don't have a lot of interaction. If it's more than 70, to me, it just appears too big and anonymous. So when people go inactive, I'll message everybody. And if they just stop answering my messages, I'll remove them from the group. They're still on my 1,600 person email contact list. So they're still going to get stuff from me. They're just not in my Facebook group. And sometimes they come back. People come back to the group later. If you run a group like me where it's a Beachbody fitness related group, I take notes anytime somebody asks about another program, and then I immediately follow up privately. So my group turns into a multi-program group because I got people doing Body Beast and Max 30 and Hammer Chisel. So somebody comes in who only knows P90X3 and T25, and they see all these people doing Body Beast, and they say, oh, I wonder what my next program should be. What do you think of Body Beast? That's my cue to go follow up with them one-on-one. And Shakeology drinkers, the Shakeology drinkers in this group are invaluable because they give you social validation, it's called, to the people who are not drinking Shakeology. So I did not drink Shakeology when I was a customer. I started drinking it when I was a coach. So I get plenty of customers that come in who've never had Shakeology. They've heard the term, but they've never met anybody who's ever used the product. I'm the first person that can ever, say to them, hey, I use it. And they get in this group and they see a dozen other people using it. And it really, really helps get them over that barrier of, maybe I should use this for a month. And that helps me a lot. And over time, these people become Challenge Pack customers. Just a bullet down the bottom here. One of my key metrics on my business activity tracker, my goal is to add 15 new customers a month through all sources. And most of them come in through this process. So I'm adding about 15 people a month to my customer list. The next step, converting to coaches, there's really nothing special here. I follow the standard customer to coach guide that we teach in Coach Basics and in the Beachbody training. People who are engaged in this group are now my coach prospects, and they go on a list. And I engage each and every single member of the group about coaching. And my goal is to get these people into the sneak peek. I want to get people into the sneak peek every month. So you've probably seen this graphic. People who participate, they become an enthusiast. And once they're advocates, they become really good coaches. My metric here has been to invite 4 people a month to the coach sneak peek and try to get 1 to 2 coaches a month come out of that. And I'm really trying to increase those numbers, because it's about time. I'm trying to increase all my numbers everywhere just to grow a little bit quicker. So before I go to the next slide, as I mentioned, Crystal Ambrose, she's on the call. I don't know if you're still there, Crystal. Crystal basically went through this process. I don't know if you want to say anything, Crystal, about what you thought from the time you downloaded your first hybrid schedule till you got into my group and you became a coach. You have anything you want to add if you're still there?
Well, what I like about how you get the people who have already been doing the programs, because I actually, before I joined you, I think I was doing Beachbody for maybe 3 years. I think I've been with you for a year now. So yeah, I was doing programs for 3 years prior to joining John. I got switched from coach to coach. I had one coach, she left. She switched me to somebody who I had no idea who she was, and then I just did everything on my own. And then I did I did T25, and then I was searching for a hybrid, and that's how I found John. And then, yeah, exactly what he said. He did the first initial contact to see and make sure I got everything. And then I slowly was talking, and then he put me in the group. And for all that time, I had never been in an accountability group. So I was just floating around in space for all that time that I was doing my workout programs. I had nobody that was supporting me or anything like that. But like when you're doing this and you're getting these people who have already done the programs, they're already invested into it, which makes his group a lot nicer because, like you said, everybody talks, we friend each other because we've been all doing the programs for such a long time. I'm a part of another group that we have, which it's all newbies, and there's not as much like engagement in that group compared to the group of how John's running it, getting all these people who don't have coaches and they don't have anybody who's supporting them.
Yeah, thanks, Crystal.
Yeah.
And a couple things that happened. So this whole presentation is supposed to be how do you get Success Club. So just the numbers allow me to convert customers to Challenge Pack customers and Success Club points. But in the process of getting these existing customers to switch to you, you occasionally get somebody to switch who's already a Shakeology customer and their coach never talked to them. They just bought it on their own. They were a Success Club lead somewhere. So it's an easy discussion to have them cancel and reorder, and there's some Success Club points. I just had one of my new leads from Saturday switched to me got in my group on, I'm looking at my calendar, Monday, switched to me on Monday, said he was interested in Shakeology, and he bought a Challenge Pack today. So from Saturday today, I just got a new Challenge Pack customer. So, if you can get a process like this in place, you have this source of leads that can lead to, Success Club month over month over month. And that's really what I've been relying on. Okay, one more slide here just on email marketing. Since a lot of what I do depends on email marketing, my free group is great, and I get a lot of enjoyment personally out of it. All those people are my friends. Frankly, I say they're my friends. When Susan and I travel, we actually seek them out when we travel, and we go see these people. So I've seen Crystal a number of times. I see other customers and coaches that are coming out of this group. So they really do become friends. But going back to my list, I encourage everyone to get into email marketing. Everybody out there has an email address, but not everyone has a Facebook account. And you probably have encountered that when people say, oh, I'm not on Facebook, so I can't join your group. That's no reason why you can't stay in contact with these people. When you push an email out, you have another captive audience. So I have 1,600 people out there that every time I push something out, they're going to read it, or at least they have an opportunity to read it. Push value-adding content out to your growing list. Even people who never respond to you and they're not your customers, they still may read your stuff. It's just like people stalking Facebook. They'll stalk your emails. So every time I got a new blog post, I'll do a blast email. That also drives more traffic to my website and gives me better Google ratings. I send newsletters out every month, and sometimes I'll send a video out in an email. And again, don't be afraid to occasionally advertise sales specials and new product launches like Core to Force. So this is a little snapshot of an email blast I did just last night, barely 24 hours ago. This is out of MailChimp. I have this one segmented list of people who downloaded my P90X3 Max 30 Hybrid. There's 318 people on this part of the list. And I just sent an email out to them with a video saying, hey, Core to Force is coming in 3 weeks. Watch my video, and then click here for more information. And I got 50% of these people opened my email and looked at it. That's 159 people. And then 10% proceeded to click. So 31 people on this list that are people not even my customers yet. I now know who these people are who are interested enough to click on a link. So what I can do now is I can go target an email right at those 30 people who clicked on a link, or the 150 people who opened my email. I can follow up with a whole different email. And I can send a different email to the ones who didn't even open it in the first place. That's what you can do with email marketing. Many customers never hear about sales from their coaches. I always send out like the Black Friday sale and the June summer sale with all the specials to my list. And people come back and they're like, oh my God, I didn't know I could get P90X for $49. they really appreciate it when you add value to them that way. And, I get them to switch to me before I give them an ordering link. So I'm doing the work. So another thing to note is there are a lot of people that are on the do not contact list. And if coaches are only relying on the Beachbody customer list and email system to reach them, they can't reach them because they're on the do not contact list. So they come to me through another avenue, so they're not on my do not contact list, so I can talk to them. So that's another reason why some of these people don't hear from their coaches, because they're on the do not contact list, because they unsubscribed to Team Beachbody spam at one point in time. Here are a couple tools. I'm not going to get into what they are. There's something called Thrive Content Builder that I use. I use this to create my own landing pages. They have great articles and training on how to do conversion-focused websites and how to write emails to get people to convert. So when you get a website, that's a tool you can go look at later. And again, I use MailChimp. I'm shamelessly putting this plug out that if you use my referral link, you get a $30 credit. I get a $30 credit. It's free, but when you use automation, you have to pay for it. So that's a valuable tool you can use later. And here's my very last slide. I just want to show you how long it took me to get this off the ground. So this is a history of my website page views from the very first day I was a coach. This is January 2013. And this is July 2016. And this number over here is how many people are actually viewing a website page every day, on average. So early on, I started my website in April. I put some early posts and recipes on my website, and I was getting, 10, 20 people a day, mostly robots. Right here in September, I put out my first hybrid schedule. And without me even knowing this was happening, look at my views over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 months. My views went from less than 50 a day to 200 a day because people were finding this and coming to my website and pulling it down. And again, I didn't realize they were doing this. I was doing this. I wasn't smart enough to figure this out. It wasn't until June 2014 where I figured out how to do an email collector and start capturing all these email addresses. So from this point in time forward, it took me this long to get 500 names on my list, another few months to get to 1,000, to 1,500, to 2,500. So as I mentioned earlier, it really is the compound effect. You have to really start slowly, and it grows over time, and eventually you get something that's self-sustaining. Now for me, I have to continually put out new hybrids and new content because the hybrids I put out in 2013, they're not working as well anymore. So I have to put new stuff out, and that's just something you have to do to make this, keep this thing working. All righty.
Yeah, I got another question.
Yep, go ahead.
So you keep all those downloads on your blog, and then they choose which one they want? Can they choose more than one before you get their email information?
Yeah, they can. I do it a couple different ways. So I have a list of 11 hybrids on my website. Mm-hmm. When you click on one of these, it goes to one blog post. And in the blog post, it says, click here to get this hybrid.
Okay.
So I actually have 5 of my schedules are grouped together on one email collector form. All my early ones, I put them on one form. So in one form, people can get 5 different schedules, like my T25 ones and my Max 30 ones and 21-day fix one. But I keep my newer ones kind of separate and standalone. So I end up with like 3 or 4 different lists of people.
Awesome.
So I don't want to put all of my hybrids on one collector form because I get people that just want everything. They just take everything, and I never hear from them. And I want them to work for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah. Let's see. Let me, no other questions. Let me just show you one of these tools here. So let me go to Google. So if you go to Google and type in 21-day fix, up here in the top, 21-day fix recipes pops up. I don't know if you guys can see this part of my screen. And this thing right at the top, I looked at this today, 21-day fix approved recipes. It's the first thing that shows up in Google search rankings. So, you know, here's a coach. Let me call up her website. Here it is, Days to Fitness. She blog, newsletters, very simple website. She has a nice blog post here, you know, recipes, blah, blah. But you go down the bottom and, you know, here it is. So her free giveaway is a recipe book, second edition. And here it is where you enter your name and email address. So here's a coach, and look up here, it says, join another 9,500 people and instantly download your own copy. So this is a real process that real coaches are using all the time. You know, it's not something I invented. I kind of found other coaches doing it and said, oh, that's pretty cool. I'm going to start doing it. So just browse around Google and look at what other coaches are doing and look at what they're giving away and how they're collecting info. Don't be afraid to sign up for some of their free downloads. I suggest you use your coach email address. So if they're smart, you know, like me, they can screen you out and you won't get on their list and you won't, you know, spend their money on emails. So yeah, I just wanted to show you this. I found this one earlier today. All right. So I wasn't watching the chat. Were there questions that came up in the chat?
I have another question.
Go
And I
ahead.
think it's on the chat. I've been looking into getting a website, but there's one that I have saved on my Facebook save date data, and it basically breaks down if they're searching for a program, and it links them into the Team Beachbody site. Is that something that your website also goes to? If they want to order like a program or anything under you?
When I first started my website, I did a lot of posting those kind of links, you know, ordering links, you know, challenge pack, you know, the max 30 challenge pack, this thing, that thing. And what my web traffic analytical data tells me is that a lot of people click on those, but nobody ever buys from those. So I am minimizing how many sales links I put on my website because they just don't work. Well, if you're going to send your customers to your website in order to click on those links to buy, because it's a nice, slick, easy way to do it, that's great. But don't ever rely on people to just find you out of the blue and say, oh, I'm going to buy a P90X3. Here's a link. It just doesn't work that way. They won't do it.
Okay.
Yeah. Were there some questions in the chat? Let's see. How do I find the chat? Share remote.
John, Sean just asked a question.
Yeah.
Let me find it again. Do you run your free group as a challenge type group, or what kind of value and interaction do you offer in there?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I should have brought that up earlier. And Crystal's going to laugh. I'm kind of lazy. I don't run my group as a real challenge group with incentives and prizes and all that kind of stuff. You know, I just don't do that. I do that. I've tried that in a clean eating group and actually worked really well. I just let people talk and things just kind of snowball on their own. So I'm kind of lucky in that respect. So it doesn't have a start date, doesn't have an end date. When new programs come out, critical mass of us will do the program together. So a bunch of us are going to do Core to Force together when it comes out in November. And that's going to create kind of a challenge group atmosphere. And maybe I'll do some incentive stuff there, but I don't know. I just haven't spent the time to do that kind of stuff in my group. Let's see.
Also, April asked, what do you use your website for versus the free Beachbody website that they give you?
I don't use the free Beachbody website at all. I don't use it in any way. You know, I used my website early on to write articles that I thought would add value to customers. So my early blog posts were, what do I eat on a typical day? Should I use P90X results in recovery formula? What P90X moves should you not do? So I started out my blog with articles that I could send to my P90X customers and say, hey, here's something I learned. You should read this. So I was using it to answer common questions. I also created pages to feature some of the products so I could send people to there instead of the Beachbody website. The Beachbody Coach replicated website is really kind of confusing. It's kind of like the shopping tab on the Team Beachbody site. So I don't use that at all. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I would not recommend using the Beachbody website for anything. The free one that they give you, the Shakeology one is okay if somebody really wants more information on it. But I never ever in 5 years have used that Beachbody website for anything because that's just going to confuse customers. It's like it was designed like 10 years ago and they haven't updated it since. So you need to form people, like you need to get people who are interested, like either, using Facebook or using your Facebook like page or using a blog like John does. And then you got to form them, right? You got to form is family, talk to them, family, occupation, recreation, and then get to the message of what you want to, them to do, like, join your challenge group or join your free group. And then, once I talk somebody into a challenge pack and find out which one they're interested in, I always use simplecoachlinks.com to give people direct links. Yeah. You can also get, like the free player membership link from simplecoachlinks.com. You can get the club link from that site as well. You can get the coach link from that site. So any link that I ever give to somebody, it's always from simplecoachlinks.com.
Now, sometimes the only Team Beachbody website link that I will direct people to is sometimes I'll send them a link directly to the page that shows all the challenge packs. Because sometimes we get so wrapped around the axle talking about different options and prices and what do you get. And I say, well, here, just go to this page and you can see all of the challenge pack options. I do this especially with coach signups, people who already are familiar with the products. Say, look, you can pick one of these challenge packs to sign up as a coach. And I say, well, don't sign up as a coach from there, but here are all the challenge packs you can sign up with. I will do that. Yeah.
Yeah, something else that you can do is you can put your referring rep ID on the end of that URL so that if people don't have an account and they choose to pick a challenge pack, you'll be assigned as their coach. So,
yeah.
Right. Awesome. Thank you.
You can put your referring rep ID on the end of anything from Team Beachbody, including the blog articles. So whenever you post a blog article, put your referring rep ID at the end of that too. All right, so looking at the chat. Another public lead generation pages. So I think that's about it. I don't see any other questions in the chat. And it's an hour, so I think that's enough.
Yes, thanks a lot, John. Does anybody have any final questions?
Yep. Just reach out to me. If you have any questions or you start doing this yourself in the future, go ahead and message me. I'm more than happy to help.
More quick question. Can you go over what form is again?
That's
or John?
Yeah. So form. It's a nice process to get to know people. Talk about family first, then their occupation, then their recreation. What do they do for recreation? And the last one is your message. So really, when I do forming, I'll do the first three. Family. What do you do for job? What do you do for recreation? And my message is, Beachbody stuff, but I don't always do that in the first conversation. Sometimes that's a subsequent conversation. That's what forming is.
Right. So, right. Even if somebody, the first question they're going to ask you is like, how much does it cost? Right. I mean, it's like you could make this awesome post about your, your program or your challenge group or whatever. And all they're going to ask you is how much does it cost? Well, you don't want to respond with, oh, it's going to cost $149, right? You want to come back with, so tell me about yourself. Tell me about your goals. Tell, talk to them, get to know them, right? So that's what you're trying to do, right?
Right.
So, all right, guys. So thanks a lot, John. We'll post the recording. So if anybody wants to watch it again, John, are you going to share your slides?
Yeah, I can do that if you want me to.
Yeah, I think you had a lot of good information on there, like links and stuff that people might be interested in. So
I'll save it as a PDF, and what I'll do is I'll put it right in that same file where you put the recording link. I'll just put a link to a PDF or something like that.
sure. All right. Well, thanks a lot, guys.
Thank you.